Good morning and welcome to this edition of the Kitchings Table, April 2nd, 2024. I want to start off with this. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everybody. This morning is probably going to be a pretty, I won't say intense, but it's going to be enlightening because based on some of the things that are going on in this country today, and there are a lot of things swirling around. We are in political turmoil, I guess would be a good way to say it, social unrest without there being injury and harm to people, but just the fact that the actions of politicians in this day and time to affect the lives of American citizens from many aspects, from medical aspects, from educational aspects, from employment aspects, is just a whole lot, just a whole lot. But today, with the fact that we see so many times where police are involved in incidences with citizens and citizens end up losing their lives, and the police sometimes don't always get justice served on them. They escape, and then you put that with the many groups that we have in this country that are fighting battles on all kinds of fronts to make their thinking and their way of life as the way it should be, and this is the way it should be for everybody. This is the doctrine that we should follow. It got me to thinking, and I thought putting these two thoughts and ideas together made sense. I just did. You when you got the scales of justice, and you got a weight on one end, on one side of the scale, and one weight on the other side of the scale, and they kind of balance out. This is kind of the way I'm looking at our topic and theme for this morning, which is, oh, by the way, our title for our show today is Moms and Goons. Moms and Goons. Joining me as always on Tuesday morning is my number one co-host, Miss Ronleen Kennedy. Ronleen, good morning.
Good morning. This is going to be heavy today.
It's going to be like an anvil, like the anvil they used to drop on the Coyote in the Roadrunner cartoons. That's how heavy it might be today. And we know that anybody else who had gotten hit with an anvil wouldn't have survived, but it seemed like Wile E. Coyote always got back up and had another idea to catch that pesky bird that he could never catch. So I wanted to start off the show this morning by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance with emphasis on the last 6 words in the Pledge of Allegiance, because when we grew up every morning in school, we had to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, an oath to the country, to the flag, to the Republic of the United States of America. And people call the democracy in this country an experiment because it deals with so many nationalities, so many different kinds of people being this melting pot, as they've called it so many times, of individuals who make up this country, who have defined this country, who have built this country, who have done so many things. It wasn't just a particular group. It was a combination of groups that poured blood, sweat, and tears into the building of what you now see as the greatest democracy on the planet. But when you get to that last portion of this coveted doctrine with liberty and justice for all, Wow. So let me just jump right in and give you something on the Pledge of Allegiance. Its history is brief. Let me give you a brief history about our Pledge of Allegiance, which is a patriotic recited verse that promises allegiance to the flag of the United States and the Republic of the United States. This version, the first version, was written by Captain George Thatcher Bouch, a Union Army officer in the Civil War, 1885, written in 1885. And it it may have been tweaked a little bit, but that part about liberty and justice, liberty and justice. So let's define liberty. And Ronnie, what is the image of liberty in this country? When they say liberty in this country, what's the first image that pops into your mind?
The Statue of Liberty.
The Statue of Liberty.
Mhm.
And you know, Ronline, the Statue of Liberty was a gift to the United States from the country of France. A gift, a statue, and they called her Liberty. And they didn't put it on the shores of St. Augustine, Florida, where Ponce de Leon, or at the tip of Florida, where that other guy who, navigated, he thought he had ended up here, but he didn't, Christopher. They didn't put it in the southern part of the country. No. They put it on an island in the river that comes into the city that never sleeps, New York City. Because to understand why it happened to be there, because transportation from the United States to Europe was between New York City and Europe. That's primarily why it ended up there, because all those ships, those vessels that would carry people, their first stop when they came to the United States, they went to New York City and dropped folks off, unloaded the ship, and went back and got another batch. So when this gift from France came and they put it on that island, and it says, "Send me, you're tired, you're wretched, you're poor," that symbol of liberty. And you always have to say two words together. When you say liberty, you should always follow it with "and justice."
Mm-hmm.
Don't leave out that part. And I'll tell you why when I get to the definition of the word liberty and its other definitions. But don't say liberty without saying "and justice," because one has to support the other. One has to be there for the other. And then if you take it 3 words further, or 2 words further, I'm sorry, for all. Now, I don't know how people define the word all. I don't know if all means just all who look like me, or all who look like you, or here's a segment of all of y'all. Okay, that's all, but it does not define in its definition a finite number. It does not say all of this particular group of all of that particular group. It says all, which means any and every one. Any and every one. So when you talk about liberty and justice for all, and you read or recite the Pledge of Allegiance as an oath, and remember, politicians who take sworn oaths for their office, if you want children to believe in an oath that you and I grew up with, even to the day, people say when you can't play the national anthem, people say recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, the national anthem is a song. The Pledge of Allegiance is an oath, basically. But I looked up what liberty, the definition of liberty meant by Webster and the way they described it in Wikipedia. And liberty, based on the definition from Wikipedia, is the state of being free within society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior, or political views. Being free from oppressed restrictions, liberty, and justice. So as I pulled those together, I had to go a little further and say, okay, so now what other definitions are surrounding liberty? So when I looked up further, and as I was sharing with you earlier, it's nothing like being able to do research, go find information, find other information and connect them and put them together. So definition of liberty as it relates to, say, Webster Dictionary: the state of being free within society from oppressed restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior, political views. That's one. Then it says the state of being imprisoned or enslaved. And when we think about that part, it's like, there are folks who talk about slavery was a good thing, but yet not being imprisoned or enslaved, that's liberty. So if you had slaves, they didn't have liberty and justice. They didn't have that. Then the third one is a right or privilege. A right or privilege. Now, when we decide to dissect that part, a right, you have the right, like when they read you your rights when you get arrested, you have the right to remain silent. Or privilege. And when we talk about privilege in a day and time where we talk about people who are privileged, who feel that, they have the privilege and or right to be the person to determine how things should affect you or what they receive. I can't get it, but they got it because they're privileged. Okay. I don't have to say it. I think we all know when we say privilege, what that really truly means. People of color don't get privileges in a positive way in some respects. But oh yeah, they get some of that negative privilege. They get some of that negative. And then the fourth one was this: the power. You gotta understand words. You gotta know these words and understand their meanings, because one word has many meanings. The power or scope. The scope. How wide is your scope? How wide does this thing go? To act as one pleases. The power, I'm going to drop off scope. The power to act as one pleases is defined as one of the definitions of liberty. Apply that to the one individual who has stirred up. Oh, man. You remember the big black kettles you would see in cartoons or movies when witches were stirring up stuff, that big old black kettle? It was huge, right?
Yes.
Well, the kettle that person stirs is 10 times bigger than that. So that power to act as one pleases. basically almost to say what one pleases. The First Amendment. You have the freedom of speech to a point. So when we talk about liberty, free from oppressive restrictions, free from not being imprisoned or enslaved, having a right or privilege or to act as you please, all of those are based on the liberty. That's liberty. And as I stated earlier, follow that with and justice. And justice. Because I there must be justice. There must be justice. And I think about the scene in the movie The Hurricane with Denzel Washington when he was in court. And he told the judge, don't turn away from justice. Don't turn away. Don't take a blind eye to justice. Your job is to deliver justice. Don't turn away from it. So our viewers and listeners might be, well, Earl, where are you going with all of this? Thank you for asking. I wanted to give you the moms part of our theme for this morning, an organization called the Moms of Liberty. The Moms of Liberty. Mom, and then you put those definitions I gave you, liberty. Are they providing justice, though? Are they providing justice? So this group, the Moms of Liberty, as defined on the internet, is a far-right organization that opposes public health regulations for COVID, LGBTQ, and racially inclusive school curriculum. They oppose racially inclusive school curriculum, but they call themselves Moms for Liberty. The state of not being imprisoned or enslaved. Moms of Liberty. The group self-identifies as part of the modern parental rights movement and has advocated book bans. Book bans. Liberty. You want things your way and only your way. Where is free from oppressive restrictions? Where is a right or privilege? I have a right or privilege to learn whatever is factual, not alternative facts. For those who came up with that crazy definition, an alternative fact. Say the three-letter word, Ronline, that defines alternative facts. Say the three-letter word that defines an alternative fact.
Tell us what it is.
LIE.
Yeah, I didn't want because when I thought about it, I thought about putting that with an S on the end.
Well, you can put an S on it and make four letters, but it starts with that three-letter. It's a LIE, an alternative fact. Alternative, meaning something other than what the fact is. So you have an organization that stands on the word liberty. Moms. And they are against racially inclusive school curriculum. So we're only going to learn from your books, what you wrote, what you say is the truth, what you want us to be believed to be the facts. And other things that were written, pay no mind to them. They're don't worry about that. You know. And when we talk about history and the facts that have occurred in history, when we talk about, I guess the Holocaust. I'm gonna start with that simply because we tend not to want to talk about the Holocaust in America. And one great spiritual leader quoted it this way, Ron Lean: if they told a story about the Holocaust of the black man in America, it would make a brass monkey cry.
Mm,
Power in words.
mhm,
If you told that story, not the story about the people who suffered to a egotistical, diabolical maniac in Germany in the 30s and 40s, 1930s and 40s. No, no, no. If you told that 400-year-old story about the black man's Holocaust in this country. Remember a couple of weeks ago, Ronline, we did a show, and I brought to you the strange fruit that Billie Holiday sang about, strange fruit hanging from the tree.
mhm.
So
In the
we haven't
19th, 20th, and 21st century, still going on.
still going on. And the only reason we know about it because somebody reports it. Otherwise, we wouldn't know about it,
Hmm.
right?
And as you say, thank God for technology so that we can get information in real time. All you got to
Real
do is
time.
surf for it.
What?
Got to be
It pop,
willing to surf it. Yeah.
it just comes to you. Breaking news. Somebody is telling the truth.
Yes.
Somebody is bringing some liberty and justice
Mm-hmm.
for all to read. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
They're bringing some liberty and justice for all to read. Nothing alternative.
Which reminds me of little Caleb Stewart. I'm sure he'll be around for a long time. That's saying, hey, even as a 4 year old, 5 year old, 6 year old, it is good for me to read because I get that knowledge. And they say knowledge is power. So when you get that knowledge,
Yes.
no one can take, and you do that research. That's another thing. You know, research and writing. I remember I had that when I was trying to get through college. Research and writing. So when you get that research and you get that writing and you learn how to put those sentences together to make a whole dialogue, to make things come alive and make sense to you, then you can start trying to make sense of the world that you live in. So, Earl, thank you for bringing this to us today because, yes, we need to learn what's going on in order to know where we're headed for our future and what we want our future to look like.
The thing about the knowledge and the wisdom that we gather, and when you hear a 4-year-old talk about the power of knowledge, because I can read, I
Mm-hmm.
can read, I can read.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge is power, and knowledge is powerful when you understand what you read. Don't just read it to be reading. You have to have some understanding in reading. You have
Re-
to know words, what
re-
those words mean in order for it to make sense. And because people understood the power of reading and the power of words, you wanted to minimize who could read and who could not read. Don't
and
want you
let me
don't want
say
you guys to learn how to read because then you'll know things. And I
right,
don't have to tell you.
right. Earl, let me say this. When I was in school, um, my reading and comprehension wasn't at grade level, whatever grade level that I was in. And when I had to go to remedial reading, people try to make that seem like it was just the most unjust thing. But I am
Mhm.
so glad that I was able to do that, to be able to catch up with my grade level and beyond, even with starting with college. Before I could get into regular classes, I had to go through the remedial part for reading remedial math and English.
Right.
And I'm so glad that I did, because when you don't understand what words are, what they're saying, you put things in the wrong context. And like you said, words have many meanings. So you have to know what meaning of a word belongs to what when you're looking at it in a sentence. So, what I want to say to everyone today, wherever your reading level is, do what you must in order to be able to function in today's time. So if you need to go and take a remedial class, do so. Do not feel ashamed, and don't let anyone shame you. You won't be in that state forever. Promise you that.
You should never be ashamed of improving yourself.
Yes.
If you have to take one step backwards to take two steps forward, so be it. Because it's worse when you can't read it and don't understand it and pretend like you do, and people take advantage of you. Because in the court of law, where liberty and justice
Ooh,
is
you
supposed
preaching now.
it's
Yeah.
supposed it's supposed to be issued out, the judge will tell you, well, it's unfortunate that you didn't read it or you didn't understand it. And they like to hit you with this one. Ignorance of the law is no excuse.
That's right. That's why you don't go in there in the court of law without an attorney.
Huh? You know that from working in a law office. Ignorance of the law is no excuse.
There's no excuse.
Because they say, well, didn't you what's the first thing you say? Well, didn't you
If
read
you
it?
read it, right. And
I
everything you
did, but I didn't understand it.
yeah, everything you do is a contract.
Right. So there you have it.
Contract.
There you have it. So again, when we talk about an organization that says it's for things. Now, their mission statement, Moms of Liberty, dedicated to fighting for the survival of America by unifying, educating, and empowering parents to defend their parental rights at all levels of government. Mm, mm, mm. The survival of America, unifying, educating, and empowering parents. See, this organization, more so, not so much for the COVID part, it's to move the needle in that direction for education, the education system, i.e., we don't want to teach certain subjects in school. We don't want to have certain books read in school. We want everything to be about what we want. Those other things aren't important. So that's their mission. Then their vision: Americans empowered and thriving in a culture of liberty.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to my definitions. A culture of liberty, not to be imprisoned or enslaved. But yet, you don't want the story about those who were imprisoned and or enslaved. You don't want their stories to be told. How can you talk about liberty and justice when you want to deny others liberty? So the fact that you call yourselves Moms for Liberty, it should concern you that you have these women who are a powerful group. Ronleen, when I tell you powerful, 115 members, 275 chapters nationally.
Wow.
Pennsylvania is the second largest base after the state of Florida. And they wanted to impact our educational systems, to change them to fit who they wanted, what they wanted to be taught. We don't celebrate October the 14th anymore, because we come to find out that that story was an alternative fact. He did not land on the soil of this country. And he did not discover the Native Americans who were already here. How you going to discover somebody who already here? They're on their own land, and he come like you're at your house and somebody come, oh, I discovered you. This is my land. No. So their values, they call themselves joyful warriors. I wonder if they got a Michael in that group, a Michael Angel. I wonder if they got one of those. But what they stand for truth. Truth about what? About who? Some of the truth, all of the truth. What do they ask you in the court of law when you put your hand on the book? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but
the truth?
Is that the truth they stand on, or is just we stand for our truth and what we believe? Our truth. We build relationships. Who are you building relationships with? Everybody or just a portion? Because if you want to have a better situation for all children, you should be inclusive and make sure that your organization reflects the way this country looks. It does not look just one way. It is a diverse melting pot. And then we empower others. You empower them how? How do you empower them? With what? So it went on to say that they promote teaching the principles of liberty in our homes and communities. See, this, you take the privilege of putting that word liberty in context of just a portion, because the state of not being imprisoned or enslaved, a right or privilege, you convolute all of this stuff under the word liberty. So I went on to look up, who started this organization,
And hold that thought. Let's go to our break.
All right. You are watching the Kitchings Table on every Tuesday morning. We bring you this show to bring you information, knowledge, wisdom, and things that hopefully will empower you to have some thought-provoking thoughts. Here on the Kitchings Table, I'm your host, W. Earl Kitchings, with my co-host, Ronleen Kennedy. Tuesday mornings, 10 a.m. Catch us. We want to bring you what we can to enlighten. And today our topic is moms and goons. So I'm going to wrap up the moms part, Ronleen, so I can get to the goons, because I know the mom, that can, take me a long way. I'm going to close the moms part with this. One of the board members of this organization, Moms of Liberty, say a public school system in America is reflective of the principles of freedom granted by our Creator. The principles of freedom granted by our Creator. And then when you go on to say, well, God has called me and equipped me to do my part in service to Him and our country. Why would you want to tell alternative facts about the Lord when the Lord is inclusive of everybody? I think that's what He said. I think that's what He wrote. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Is it just the neighbor who lives on this side of town, or all the neighbors in your community? Do your part in service to Him and our country with liberty and justice. No, it's too hypocritical to continue. But Ronleen, but check this out. The people who founded this organization, that organization is kind of coming apart. Even the governor of the state of Florida has refused to make one of the members of the Moms of Liberty one of the top ethics official. He decided no, because they've been caught up in some things that has weakened their credibility.
Mm-hmm.
They've been caught up in some situations, some issues that has weakened their credibility. So moms aren't as wholesome as they want to be, but yet they still want to impact the education of children. And they are definitely people who want charter schools to be the way to go. And we know that charter schools aren't as successful in all areas as they claim to be. And charter schools are basically just a conduit for getting money, in my opinion. Yeah, you're educating, but at the same time, y'all are trying to do some other things under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
So your hearts are not truly where you say you are. You got some other things going on, and you create an organization who want to do some things, and you call yourselves Moms of Liberty and Justice.
Mm.
Deliver justice. Let justice be delivered to them. Let some justice be delivered to them. But now I want to go on to, excuse me, the name goon. And this is because of a goon squad of police officers in the state of Mississippi that brutally attacked two black men. And of course, they were hoping to what? Get off. Unfortunately, last month, the 6 of them were sentenced to 20 years. Justice. But you'll find this interesting, Ronleen, that the definition of a goon is a stupid, foolish, or eccentric person. Now, you probably didn't know that, and maybe you did. Stupid, foolish, or eccentric. That's what a goon is, according to Wikipedia. But as defined by Webster, a man who is paid to threaten or hurt people, a hired hoodlum or thug, a stupid, foolish, or awkward person, a rough, coarse person, i.e., roughneck.
Mm.
Goon. A man who is paid to threaten or hurt people. Goon evolved into the slang for a thug in 1938, someone hired by racketeers to terrorize political or industrial opponents in 1938, or a German Stalag, and Stalag is a prison in Germany. During World War II, Stalag was a prison for prisoners, a Stalag guard for American POWs in 1945. But these are the people who are to brutalize, bully, mistreat people, especially those people of color. And for them to be brought to justice, to get their due, to now have to be put in the confines where they would send people who they abused and would send to jail and prison. They now become a part of the population.
Mm.
Now, I bet you they want some justice to not have to live in that population. But liberty has come to them,
Mm-hmm.
and justice is being delivered.
Mm.
So in the United States, a goon squad is a group of criminals or mercenaries. Check that out. Mercenaries, commonly associated with pro-union violence or anti-union violence, though they may be employed in other situations as well. Goon squad in the police department in Mississippi, in Jackson. Let me see. This was in what county was this? I want to say that Rankin County, Mississippi. You had a goon squad to perpetrate violence, brutality, and bullying. And I found this, Ronline, over a decade. This is according to the Associated Press. In March of 2024, more than 1,000 people died after police subdued them through means not intended to be lethal. In hundreds of cases, officers worked, taught, or didn't follow best safety practices for physical force and weapons, creating a recipe for death. It's been going on for a long time. And as much as people want to talk about the fact that that police officer did not bodily harm George Floyd, how many minutes, brother, you got your knee on his neck? Now, if the tables had been flipped, there would have been an outcry and an outpouring of injustice. But there was no thought of that for George Floyd. Fortunately, that Michael Angel put a cell phone camera in the hands of a young girl. Said, turn it on and take pictures, record it, because what you're going to show the world is going to enlighten the justice system. It's going to put a spotlight on them like you've never seen. And that's what she did. That great invention called a cell phone, when you put there was a time when there were no cameras in a cell phone, Ronline. Somebody said, well, let's put a camera in one. Let's put a camera in it. Okay. That sounds like oh my goodness. Not just to take pictures, they can make a video. Mm-hmm. You got police officers who are displaying or acting in goonish ways and affecting the liberty and freedoms of people just because they have the what? The POWER. Mm-hmm. Because they can. I'm the law. I can do what I want to do. I'm the law. Mm-hmm. You go to some of these little small rural areas, don't get it twisted. That law is the law. Mm-hmm. And because they can, and the double standard for police treatment of people of color, the reason that police mistreat Black men when they confront and arrest them due to long-standing guilt. There's some guilt. They don't want to talk about that guilt deep down inside that body, inside that physical body. Feeling inferior, you feel threatened or inferior. It's a power play, or just because they can. And we may tend to think it's just a Southern thing, and it just is more prevalent in the South, but it's not, because it's not always reported. See, some communities, they do a better job of suppressing. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about goons, and you relate that to what was happening in the 50s and 60s with Dr. King and the civil rights marches that turned into the Civil Rights Act of 1964, 60 years ago, this act was enacted as a federal law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, and religion. My civil rights have been violated. I have a civil right. It outlawed segregation on the grounds of race, religion, national origin at places of public accommodation, including courthouses. Funny, they started with that one first. That's the first one they put in here, including courthouses, mm-hmm. parks, restaurants, theaters, sports arenas, and hotels. Equal access to public places and employment, enforced desegregation of schools, and the right to vote. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a powerful piece of legislation. And it also created the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, to ensure fair hiring practices and established a federal community relations service to assist local communities with civil rights issues. All of that was packed into the Civil Rights Act of 1964, only 60 years ago. Liberty and justice for all. So, bringing you moms and goons today, I wanted to put a spotlight on the fact that you got goon squads. They just happen to find this one in Mississippi. That does not mean that there aren't others that are happening in other communities. The spotlight just hasn't been turned on them yet. But this is to make them aware. You can't get away with it like you once did. Police officers just mistreating people and don't think it's, and that's why it's so important to understand what's going on in what we're dealing with in 2024, because if things go backwards, liberty, but there may not be any justice. And like I said before, in the movie when Denzel Washington played Reuben Hurricane Carter and told the judge, do not turn away from justice. Mm-hmm. With no justice, there is no
liberty.
No peace. Justice, no peace. Mm-hmm. Well, Ronlene, I'm gonna turn it over to you. That's my thing for the day. I mean, I'm gonna turn it over to you, let you bring us our Black History moment, because whew, that those two things and seeing those in the paper, you got me worked up.
Understood. And thank you for bringing that to us today. You know, it may not be a subject that we like, but when it comes down to injustice, who does? So I am presenting to you for our Black History Acknowledgement, or African American Acknowledgement, is Dr. Alicia Nikki Washington. Dr. Washington is a computer scientist, and she is the author of Unapologetically Dope, and she was the first Black woman to earn a Doctor of Philosophy degree in computer science from North Carolina State University in 2005. She learned how to code from her mother, who worked at IBM. And today, her book, Unapologetically Dope, is lessons geared for Black women and girls on surviving and thriving in the tech field. And today we know everything that we do is related to technology. So they have the STEM, you have your science, you have your engineering, your tech, and your mathematics. All of that goes hand in hand, because in the tech field, when it comes down to computer science, is dealing with binary code from zeros and ones. You know, that's how we get the kind of data that we get. So I want to thank you all today for allowing us to be here, presenting these things for you. For those people who know that is the tech field, or the STEM, as I just pointed out, is what's going to carry us forward. You know, we can't have any excuses of why we can't learn what's going on in our tech world, because everything we do depends on it. Paying bills, computer science, all of that goes hand in hand. So I turned it over to you, Earl, if you want to add a few things to it before we close out today.
I'm going to stand on what you gave us about Dr. Washington, a computer scientist. She's doing her thing, very learned woman, and we thank her for what she's doing, and pray that she continues to do the job she's doing and stay empowered to reach out and help others. So That's my comment. Ronleen, thank you so very much for allowing today's topic to be a part of what we do here at the Kitchings Table, because we feel it not robbery to provide information and news or wisdom, knowledge to our listening and viewing audience, whether you're with us live or whether you catch the show later. Just know that we are on point for doing what we do. So thank you for allowing this to be one of the more interesting topics today, because it's not easy finding information and having to research it and bring it to folks and capsulize it within a 40 to 50 minute time period. You got to be concise and try to hit the high points. So thank you for being my co-host, and we thank all our viewers and listeners for being a part of our show here at the Kitchings Table. So
thank you for following us and liking us and hearting us.
hey, if you get a chance, subscribe to us, the Kitchings Table. We're on YouTube. Subscribe to us and follow us and tell somebody about us, and hopefully what we're doing here makes a difference. So for my co-host, Ronleen Kennedy, I'm W. Earl Kitchings saying until the next time, when you get a chance to come share something with us here at the Kitchings Table on Tuesday morning, as we say, go out and do something good for somebody else today. Take care, everybody. Justice, liberty for all. Take care. Bye-bye.